Hey, welcome back to Make Mistakes. Just wanted to talk about all the tools that I used to start building this workbench of mine that I'm using to display all of the tools that I used. So I'm not done with it yet, and I'll show you some of the process of making it that I'm still doing because I'm adding like stretchers for stability and maybe like some shelving or something. I'm not 100% certain yet, but just wanted to show you all the tools that I used to make my life a little bit easier. They're actually fairly basic. So mostly what you need to build this is some way of sawing lumber. I use 2x4s and a couple 2x6s from the big box store. So if you have some sort of saw, I like using the Suzanne Ryoba saw. Just because it's like $30 for a rip cut and a cross cut saw all in one. And I mean, it works really well for me. I've had this since I started woodworking because I was on a budget, and it is a Japanese pole saw, so it is a little bit different from the way you would use like a normal Western saw. Just kind of got used to it. It was easier for me as a beginner to be able to correct mistakes by just kind of pulling one way or another, and it basically goes in a straight line as long as you can keep your hands straight. So having a saw will help you cut lumber to the right sizes. For actually making all the joinery, you need some sort of marking knife or pencil to make your marks. I even got fancy and got myself a little Veritas marking gauge, just because I thought I'd be doing a lot more Morse and tenon than I do. So it's a little bit overkill for what I do, but it's nice to have because it is specifically made for joinery. So it has, let's see here, it has a bit that's for inside of Morses, and then it also has a shaft specifically for the outside of Morses, which I use most often. So it's a neat little jig, worth the money if you're doing a lot of joinery. Otherwise, you can make do with basically some sort of straight edge and a marking knife and just kind of planning better. You can also use just like, you know, little wooden marking gauges that are basically just wood with a nail on it and then just marking. The other thing you need for chopping out mortises and making your joinery is a chisel. I started with like the blue chip Irwin Marples chisels, and then halfway through upgraded to the Nerix Richter chisels because I saw James Wright's video on them. They're really cool. I really like how I can kind of wail on some mortises without necessarily having to constantly have to strop. I just kind of strop all the time because I'm a wood carver as well, and I just prefer stropping rather than completely sharpening everything all the time. You also need something to wail on the chisel when wood isn't necessarily going your way. And I really love this mallet that was custom made for me out of hickory, and if I remember correctly, this is like Brazilian cherry with some Purple Heart going through it. This was made for me by Charlie McBride. Met him on the Can I Have It tool auction and sales group that I'm also an admin of. Really great group if you're looking for vintage hand tools for a bargain. Lots of things go for a pretty good price on there. But yeah, really great group, really great community. Got this custom made for me. Love using it. It's freaking awesome. Then for once I cut everything to the right size and to laminate the top, so basically glue all the 2x4s together face to face, you need a ton of clamps. And I'll show you how medieval it kind of started looking. So basically, once we're done with all the like layout and joinery stuff, now we're at like flattening tabletops so that it actually is flat. So got this Stanley number 7 jointer plane. It's a big honker. Got this all nice and rusty at a very decent price for how much work it needed to be restored. But it had all the parts. Nothing was super janky on it. I mean, really, the only real flaw is there's like a bit of a tip missing here on the tote. But I mean, freaking awesome price. Got this also at the Can I Have It Facebook tool auction group. Restored it, and it works like a beauty. So basically, you use a big jointer plane like this to make sure there aren't any big high spots on anything. So it only hits high spots because the sole is so long that it doesn't ride the wood the way a smoother plane would. So basically this hits all the high spots, makes sure everything's the same flatness. And then you come in with the smoothing plane, like the number 4. This is the Wood River number 4. I personally like it. It's one of, if not the second plane I bought, because I just wanted to try a bevel up plane. So I bought the Wood River number 4. It works pretty well for me. I got it on sale at a fairly okay price. But yeah, so you use a smoother like this. I used this smoother to make sure that everything was like nice and smooth before I went and like made a bunch of dents on it, as I was using I was using just the bench top itself for the rest of my woodworking. I brought this out. This is the modern Stanley Sweetheart number 62. It is a low angle jack plane, so it's the size of a number 5, and it's a decent jointer and a decent smoother. That's why it's called a jack plane. But it's not like the best for all of those things. But if you had to just pick one tool to be able to start your woodworking, this is what I would get. And this is exactly what I got after doing some research. So it's really nice and easy because it doesn't have nearly as many bells and whistles for adjustment that a bevel up plane has. So all it is the blade, the adjuster, and you can move the mouth as well to give you a bigger mouth for bigger pieces of wood, or a tighter mouth to make it a smoother. So the beauty of the low angle jack is that because the blade is at a lower angle, it actually makes it really great for smoothing end grain. So the only reason I have this out here on the bench is because I use it to smooth out the end grain on my mortise joints. So like here, just because I, had very, very rough cut it and they were sticking up out of the bench. Yeah, so next video I'll show you what my wooden workbench actually looks like, and all the mistakes that I made, and basically where it currently is in progress, and next steps. One of the mistakes that I'll show you right now is the vise is on the wrong side for a right-handed person. So the vise is here, but if I wanted to plane a board, I actually only have this much to work with, because really it should have been clamped over here and then have additional support on this side so I can go the full length of the workbench to plane a board. But despite having done the research and making sure that I measured things properly, still put the vise on the wrong side of the bench. And well, it is what it is. So I'll make it work, because this is all the scrap wood I have, and I'll build another workbench later, or I'll just move the vise one day. Who knows? All right. well, that's it for this video. Keep on making, and I'll see you next time.